Hello students, Miss Slyman here with what I think is our last example. Yep, an example 6b. Again, I'm going to make my sign diagram, but first things first, I need to set it, I need to have a 0 in there to make my sign diagram. So I'm going to make 0 greater than, I've got to move the x squared this way, and this is why I started with 0, so I could have a positive x squared minus 3x minus 10. If I set this equal to 0, x squared, let me factor it. I'm going to have x minus 5, x plus 2 equals 0. So my key x's are 5 and negative 2. Again, thinking of my sign chart, I can also think of my sign chart on the number line itself. So here's negative 2, here's 5. We're going to definitely have open circles because we don't have greater than or equal to. In this case, I want this value to be the smaller value. So I'm trying to make this true. So let's see. When I plug in a number in the middle, that's 0. I'd get negative 10. So 0 is greater than negative 10. That's true. So I could either say to myself true, or I could say that it's a negative value, or I could write myself negative, however you want to do it. So the inequality is true, or you could say you could put your negative symbol, or you could write negative. When I pick a number like 10, then I would get 100 minus 30 minus 10. That's definitely positive. 0 is not greater than a positive number. So I could think of this section as being false, or I could write my positive. If I go with negative 10 squared is 100. This would turn into plus 30, definitely positive again, so also false. And I promise it's not always going to end up with the range in the middle. It's just happened with our last examples. So here's our true range. There's our solution. So in the end, our solution is negative 2 is less than x is less than 5. And if I wanted to look at this on Desmos, I could look at these two separate graphs. So let's do that just as a last thing to look at. So looking at my two separate graphs here, one of them is x squared plus 5x plus 6, and the other one is 2x squared plus 2x minus 4. And I want my red graph to be greater. So looking at this graph here, let me zoom out just a bit. I want the red graph to be greater. Well, the red graph is greater than the blue starting at the negative 2. And then at this point here, it looks like my blue takes over and starts having higher values. So let's zoom in just on that area. And sure enough, from 5 on, so I'm zooming way in, the blue values are higher than the red values for each x. So that confirms that from the negative 2 to 5, this side was greater than this side. Always good to check our work.